I get there like 6 a.m. their time. So I'm going to be just super warm and fuzzy, happy all over, and not grouchy at all. I'm hopeful that I'll just pass out completely on the first flight.
You're going to be like, immediately take me to Starbucks, please.
Are you kidding? I'm going to Starbucks as soon as I get off the plane. Like, where is it? I know there's one here.
That's what I knew it.
Just find it.
The second you get there, it's like, where's
Starbucks? The coffee? Where?
So
I'm carrying around my giant stuffed animal because I'm still a 12-year-old inside. It's fine. Where's my coffee?
Hi, friends.
Hi, friends. Welcome to, I don't know, this
16.
episode. This episode of Brunch and Judge.
16?
Sure.
16.
Sure. It could
we
be
can drive.
Any number. Oh, we can drive. Not well, but we think we can.
Right.
That's the true test of a 16-year-old.
Right.
I'm a great driver.
No. Indeed.
Well, So, Claire, what are you judging this week?
Oh my God. There are so many things to judge.
I know. I feel like it should be like a top 10 list of the things to judge this week.
Just from this week? Oh my gosh.
Like even the last like 48 hours, I could probably do 10.
Right? Ugh. Indeed. Well, I'm going to stick with what I told you about.
Okay.
Just because I don't know what you're judging. But the TikTok I sent you, I'm judging. Okay. So, I follow this TikTok person. Her name is Aprile A Joy.
It's not me.
No.
Different April. But we're all cool, so thanks.
Yes. And she is just a recovering evangelical Christian, I guess is the best way to put it. Because I don't think she's given up on her faith. It's just she's realized the toxic culture that is church and is pointing it out to people, enlightening people like, oh, when the church does this, that's toxic. This is not behavior that Jesus would approve of. Because she was, and she'll tell you, like, you go watch her TikToks, how entrenched she was in it. And then, then you become disillusioned and you're like, okay, yeah, this is not what it is. This is not what God intended with all of this. But she has a lot of funny TikToks, a lot of satire, which is how I first started watching her. It was lots of like, her making fun of stereotypes within the church, and I was cracking up because I absolutely know people who are those stereotypes, and it's funny. A lot of it's lighthearted. She's not trying to be mean-spirited about any of it. But then she does have the serious TikTok. So she had one talking about, first off, I don't know how many of y'all have heard this, but it has come out that the Southern Baptist Convention found out that they have covered up a crap ton of, trigger warning, sexual assaults within the church, leaders in the church, sexual assaults with people in their congregation. And shock, surprise. Why are we shocked about this? I know everybody likes to hate on the Catholic Church because of this, but I feel like it runs rampant with all of it.
Well, no offense. I fall on the other side of the world. It runs rampant in every cult that's out there. And most churches, whether they like it or not, are actually little cults among themselves.
Right.
So,
yeah,
whatever.
Absolutely. And I honestly feel like it's just with anything where you have a person in a position of power. Yeah. Who likes to hold that over a younger person's head and try to scare them into, manipulate them, scare them, all those things into doing what they want, whether it's right for the person or not. Most of the times, not. And the one in particular that she was talking about was this pastor at a church in Indiana.
I think it was.
Was it Indiana?
I don't remember. It's one of those states near Kentucky that I was like, oh, God.
Right.
Why is it always... Right. It's always in the same area, guys. Stop it.
John Lowe, that's his name. All these names have blurred together. Anyway, Pastor John Lowe at this church in Indiana, and the TikTok video showed this person recorded it. I guess he told the church that he had some big announcement to make, and somebody recorded it on their phone. And the big announcement was that 20 years ago, he had an affair, and it was with one person in the church. He didn't name any names, and it was like, the whole, I have no defense, I shouldn't have done it, I sinned, yada yada, the blah 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 that you hear from
blah, blah,
all
blah.
the time.
I'm human and
right.
What was the heck? Is that here? Do you hear that?
No.
Okay, if you can hear low-level mowing, I'm sorry, listeners. It's not us.
Oh wait, now I hear it.
I don't. It could be our new landlord.
Yeah, I don't think that's
or it could be completely unrelated to us at all. Because landlord drama is real, so I have no idea what's going on. I close my door, I lock it. I don't know. Well, so apologies for lawnmower sounds.
Right. But anyway, so the whole spiel, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Ugh, I know. Gross.
I sinned. Yada yada. I'm gonna resign.
God forgive me, I'm doing blah blah blah.
I'm gonna resign. Blah blah. The whole church, first off, the whole church gave him a standing ovation.
Which is disgusting, by the way.
Yes. Okay, yeah, the man admitted his sin to the whole church, but just admitting it, I don't feel like that deserves a standing ovation.
No. Well,
not at all. That disturbed me. I mean, watching the whole TikTok or the video, once it gets into him apologizing and what follows, my heart was like pumping out of my chest. I was so angry watching it. Like, I got so mad. But anyway, so after they give him a standing ovation, and then you see these people like walking down the side coming up, and it's a husband and wife. And the husband the Jeff Lowe for John. Jeff Lowe is in Tiger King. I'm sorry, I misspoke. John Lowe. Pastor John Lowe. My bad. Once he leaves the pulpit, then you can tell, like, you're like, is this supposed to be happening? But the man grabs the microphone and he's basically like, I want my wife, please listen to my wife, she needs to say something. And so immediately after all this happens, and they're all like, yay for our pastor who sinned and he admitted it, even though it was 20 years ago. Man. The wife takes the microphone and she starts telling the church how she was the woman who he had the affair with, but she was 16 years old.
Oh, God.
And it was, talking about, she was like, do you remember how you took my virginity on your office floor?
Oh my God. She said that in front of the church?
Yes. I mean, it's just like you're watching this and you're like, somebody got this on their phone? Holy shit. I mean, that's really where I was. And it's just like watching it, I'm angry. And then it like kind of cuts away and then cuts back. And this person has moved perspective, so they're closer to the action at the time. And Pastor John Lowe was like in her face talking to her, and she's like, but you did it, don't you remember? And it's like, in the moment he is gaslighting her. He doesn't have the microphone, so you can't hear everything he's saying, but you can hear more of what she's saying. And then it's like he takes the microphone, she comes down from the stage, and people are kind of like, some people are still standing, some people have like, they've sat down at this point because they don't know what's happening.
This is awkward. This got a little weird.
And you can hear somebody yell at him, did you do it? But did you do it?
Yeah.
And he never really gives a straight answer. And then it's like it cuts away again. And then I'll be damned if those motherfuckers, mostly men, started it.
Oh, God, you know it.
Go up and they circle around him and they start a prayer circle around him. Not her. Him. And when you watch how the church has portrayed it ever since, they still say it's an affair. It's an affair. It's not that he
minor.
Exactly. Oh my God. They just gloss over that completely. Anything that they have set out as far as like their official statement, everything calls it an affair. None of it calls it what it actually is. which is sexual assault,
Mm-hmm.
which is statutory rape.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the words that the church needs to be using instead of, oh, it was an affair. No, it was not an affair. And she talks about how she had been in this prison for the last 27 years because she couldn't tell anybody. She made it sound like she did tell people, but then they just dismissed her. And so that's,
because
again,
it couldn't possibly be true. Not of their Jesus-like
right,
pastor.
right.
What?
Exactly. And it's just, the whole thing is disgusting. All of it. The Southern Baptist Convention, I've not been a fan of theirs for a while,
No.
honestly. They get on my nerves. They think they're some big, great entity, and they're not. It's like, get over yourselves.
Well, and it's
I mean, sometimes I feel like they think that they're like, how the Vatican is in the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like the Southern Baptist Convention feels that way about themselves, like in the Baptist part of the world.
It's such a white prosperity gospel bullshit that the Southern Baptist Convention has become. I mean, I know that's not what they were. I know for the longest time, they were, much more progressive and open.
Right.
Which breaks my heart that they became this horrific entity to, hold my church or hold my beer, Catholic Church. We'll up you one here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, horrific. Yeah, I'm judging them hardcore this week because it's disgusting and appalling. And I apologize to anybody who has been a victim of theirs because that, nobody would listen. I mean, I personally myself have not been, thank God, but it's just to know that there are people out there who have been, and it has been covered up time and time again by somebody who could do something. And I think there is a special place in hell for those kind of people who ignore and try, not just ignore, but even try to cover up and gaslight the victims and say, oh, but did it really happen? Or, try to like, oh, well, it was this. It really wasn't that, that kind of thing. It's like, how dare you? How dare you? You were disgusting and you absolutely will be judged in the end. I mean, I hope you get the day and the life that you deserve after all this. That's really where I'm at. It's just, you people disgust me. Just quit. Stop. Just get out of the church. You need to go have your own, like, come to Jesus talk with yourself and God. Just leave. Because there's no place for you in the church whatsoever. No. I hate it. I hate it. Because it's just like, well, it's Christians like you that make Christians like me want to drink.
Well, and honestly,
severely.
It's Christians like them that make people like me run away from it. Because
that too.
That too. Don't follow any of it anymore. I'm out. And I'm out because of people. And I don't love. It frustrates me when people are like, well, people aren't perfect and, we're all just trying to be like God. I'm like, they're not trying, though. The problem is that they're really not trying. They're enjoying their various types of power within the church and using that against you in weird ways. And there's these own little cliques and things that just...
Yeah.
And all of this achieved through the concept of guilt that your eternal soul is at stake if you don't abide by their rules. And it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know. Are you Jesus? No. So shut up. Just be nice.
Exactly.
Be nice.
Right.
Good life lesson there.
So yeah, that's my judge. It made me angry.
It's an excellent judge.
I was shaking. I was so angry when I saw it. So I was like, that's it. That's what I'm doing. But so many things have happened since I saw that on Monday.
Know.
So... oh gosh. Anyway, what's your judge?
Well, I feel like, oh God, I have so many things, but ultimately, I know that when we record this, or when people hear this, it will have been a couple of weeks, but
yeah.
As we record this, it's literally, 2 days after a horrific school shooting in which a bunch of 4th graders, 10-year-olds, were brutally murdered in a school, and what was weird for me is that it hit me in a really strong way. Like, I mean, unfortunately, mass shootings have become really common, And, you know, I have these pangs moments, or pangs in these moments of after they haven't been like, oh God, like it's awful.
Right.
But like, I sat last night and cried about these poor kids who, after Sandy Hook, shouldn't have happened. Like, Sandy Hook should have been the one that stopped and made change and that made people go, oh God, we've let it go too far.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Because I think Sandy Hook and this one have gone beyond the whole trope of the bullied student.
Yeah.
Who, because these people were not associated with this school at all. Like even Sandy Hook, you know, that wasn't an elementary school student that brought a gun. That was an adult who just went to an elementary school to shoot. And it's like, but why? And this is the same thing. It's like, this was an 18-year-old adult that just, I mean, I think that's what's killing me is it, and not that I'm condoning the bullied student thing, you know, but I feel like that with the schools, you know, when you have your own,
because we grew up in that. I mean, for us, Columbine was monumental. Like I vividly remember it happening when we were in school, and it changed things. And the conversations became very different about bullying, and I hope that things have changed. Obviously, I'm not in school anymore, and I don't have kids that are in school or kids at all, but you know, so I think now it's this, but I feel like there's more attention to that, but we've gone so far beyond that. It's people who are just going in with the intention of killing as many people as they can. Sometimes it's motivated by racial hate or religious hate, which is horrific and awful, and not okay in any way, shape, or form. But then there's times when it's just like, these were 10-year-olds. They were 10-year-olds. Yeah. And I just can't get my mind around it because I know that as horrific as this was, and as horrific as it is that these people, again, were brutally murdered, nothing is going to change. Because somehow, and I don't understand how, people in America have decided that guns are the symbols of freedom and liberty, and I went off on a rant on Facebook this week about how I don't feel free, and I don't feel liberated. I feel trapped. I feel scared. I am not a child. I can't imagine going to school at this point, but I mean, I don't go places without being aware of my surroundings and knowing where the 100%. Emergency exits are. And you know, I had
even when I go to church, like if I go to church with mom and dad, and I'm sitting there, I'm just like, I'm looking, I look at who's coming in. I'm like paying attention to, like, if something were to happen, what is my quickest escape route out of there? Where can I go to get out? Even at work. And I mean, we're small. Nobody, you know, but even, you know, some crazy person can come in and do whatever. And I'm constantly like, what can I duck behind? What can I, you know, I mean, I've got a lot of stuff I could defend myself with, but if they've got a gun, that's a whole different ball game.
And it's, you know, if they have an assault rifle whose only purpose in life is to kill, it's the only reason it exists, you know, there's only so much you can do. I mean, so I didn't reply to the message on Facebook, but I had someone comment on my thing about how, you know, they specifically don't super worry about it because odds are they're more likely to die from this and their kids are more likely to die from blah, 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 blah. But also this week, it turns out that kids die more from shootings, from gun violence than car accidents. It is now the leading cause of death for children. So I can't wrap my head around being like, well, but there's so many other things. Well, but this is one big, huge thing, and it's scary, and there's nothing. And why is it still happening? And we are literally the only fucking country that just doesn't care, and that's what it boils down to. It doesn't matter how many children die or how many people die, as long as the bananas nut jobs can keep all of their guns that they've decided are their constitutional rights to have. And I'm like, at what point where's the threshold for them? When their grandchildren die? When they get shot
Right.
in school? Is that when they start going, oh, maybe this was bad?
Right. But I think because I know the person who made the comment that
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about, and the first thing I thought of him, I was like, because he's several years older than both of us. So he was not in school when Columbine happened. It's like, I
I
remember
remember it. It
freshman year
was life-changing.
sitting in like one of my science classes. They turned on the TV. And I mean, you want to talk about a precursor to 9/11. I mean, I think the whole school was watching.
Yeah,
Again,
same.
before 9/11. It was the whole school was watching, and you were watching in real time these police officers trying to get these kids out of the school,
And you're
and they're
watching
running.
kids that are
Yeah.
your age
Yes.
that are
Because you're like,
going
this
through
is
the most
real life.
traumatic thing that we could ever have imagined at that point. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and it stays with me. And even then, like I remember lockdown drills sort of
Yes.
started happening right after that. What would we
Yep.
do in those situations?
Yep.
And like at first it was kind of like whatever, but the older I get, like I have active shooter training at almost every job I've ever had. Some are more in depth than others,
Right.
and I appreciate them because ultimately, in those situations, if you can react because you've been trained to react, then you're more likely to survive. But I'm like, this is our solution. It's let's train people how to run or hide or how to barricade doors.
Right.
It's obscene, and I am just so fucking tired of it. Like
Yeah.
I don't want kids. I don't particularly like kids as a rule. Like I like some specific children because they're related to me or because they're cool or funny or something.
Yeah.
But I've never been someone who super loves to hang out with kids. It's not my thing. But like this devastated me. Like just to watch it
Mm-hmm.
happen again and know that all of these families are going to mourn and grieve and nothing's going to come from it. Nothing. It's just going to be
Yeah.
the same old thoughts and prayers, and I'm done with that fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
It does absolutely nothing.
Agreed. And it kills me when people say the same thing over and over again about, you can't stop evil people from being evil, or it's like people
But
kill
you
people,
can
not
make it harder,
guns.
or you can make them have to do something that
Yeah.
isn't a gun, an assault rifle that can kill, dozens of people in minutes, seconds even.
You know what,
Like
I'm over here and I'm
it's.
like, if that's the case, because that's what I keep hearing over and over and
Mm-hmm.
over again. So, anytime any mass shooting happens, that's what the first thing is, oh, look at Chicago. They've got some of the strictest gun laws on the planet, and they have the most gun violence. And it's like, but here's the thing.
It's a
Why
town.
does it really only happen here?
Yeah.
If gun control and gun regulation and whatever does not work, why are we the only nation
Mm-hmm.
that deals with this kind of problem? It really isn't an issue in any other country. I mean, and you look at what happened in New Zealand not that long ago, where
Mm-hmm.
that guy went and shot up that Muslim mosque. I mean, immediately,
They
immediately,
immediately
their
took
prime
action. Yeah.
minister was like,
We're done.
we're doing something about this.
Yeah.
We're putting some new laws in place. I mean, it was instantaneous.
And that's how it's been
And what do? We
everywhere else
just
but
keep
here.
yeah. Here it's just like the politicians just want the money from the fucking NRA. Because you go look at all these people who are like, oh, my deepest prayers and sympathies and blah, 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 blah. And then you go look at like how much money they have gotten from the NRA.
Mm-hmm.
It is obscene and disgusting. And you're like, that right there is why nothing is being done.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that, and like you said, people seem to think that guns equate freedom,
Which
which I don't.
that's
What?
that's not what it is. Like that's not freedom. Freedom is not living in fear of being shot all the goddamn time because you don't know who has a
Right.
gun and what level of crazy that might be and what kind of day they've had and whether they're going to go off their rocker in that moment. I mean, I don't want to live
Yeah.
this way. Like I don't want
No.
anyone to have to live this way. It's obscene and insane. And
But the same
you
people who
know,
are all these guns, they want to save all the unborn fetuses.
But they don't care if they get shot at school. That doesn't matter at all.
This right here is a prime example of people who are not pro-life but pro-birth. 100%. Because I really feel like if you were pro-life in this situation,
you would be arguing.
You
with
would care
us.
about these.
You would be fighting.
You would care about these lives that have been lost.
I mean, don't get me wrong. My personal choice would be nobody gets a gun without it being for a specific reason. Like, I hunt. Fine, you can have specific hunting rifles. No one gets an AK.
Yes.
Whatever. No assault rifles, because that's not how you hunt. So stop it. But
yeah, I
mean, that's me. I don't like guns. I think they cause way more harm than good, and that's personal. My personal beliefs. But I can't understand why it's so hard to just get some reasonable gun safety things. Like, it shouldn't be super easy to get a gun. You should have to be over a certain age to get a gun. You should be required to take some kind of classes in order to own a gun. And I personally think you should have some kind of reason to why you want one. Like, and I think being a gun enthusiast / collector is acceptable, because I think those people exist. I don't get it, but fine, whatever. But, like, I think you should have to have a much longer waiting period. I think no one under the age of 25 should be allowed to have one.
That was the age I was thinking of. I was like, definitely 25. It doesn't even need to be 21.
The thing is, brains they're not fully formed. They're all broken in your teenage years, and you don't become a sensible, rational human being who truly understands the concept of consequences, or the fact that life can go on even though things are shitty right now. You don't get that until you're mid-20s. So we should be aware of those things. And
I mean, unless you're like in the military and you've had that kind of training.
Well, but that to me is very specific. It's you chose to enlist, you're being trained, you're going through a very extensive process, much more than Joe Public would. So that's a different story.
I mean, and here in Kentucky, under stupid what's his face,
ugh, God, hate
Matt
him.
Bevin, they got rid of conceal and carry permits, and I'm like, that's fantastic. Thanks.
Anybody,
so somebody can just carry a weapon. Yeah.
And as someone who saw someone, like, I was at a red light, and we were turning, is in Lexington. There's one of those two lanes to turn. I was in one lane, and there's a car next to me in the other lane to turn. And when the light turned green, fire trucks were coming through, so we couldn't turn. By the time they got out of the way, it had turned red again. Well, the person behind the car next to me was mad, because whatever. And so, was laying on the
fire
horn.
Trucks. Yeah, it's fire trucks. Like,
it was laying on the horn, like, what? And you go, because I guess technically one of us could have gone, I suppose. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But the guy next to me reaches into his glove box and pulls out a gun. And he starts waving it around wildly in his car.
Oh, no.
And
you're thinking, I need to get out of here right now.
Holy fuck. What the... And the truck behind them sees it, and they stop. They're like, holy shit. He pulled out a gun. Like, I'm angry about him not turning, but, like, this is a step too far. And, like, ultimately it was fine. He didn't get out of the car. He didn't shoot anybody, but it was a terrifying few moments before the light turned and we were all able to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's uncalled for.
And it sticks with me because I think about that guy, and I think, he could have been an absolutely perfectly wonderful, sane human being on any other day, but had the worst day ever, and just one thing after another, and this guy honking at him just sent him over the edge. And he reached for a gun because he had it, and he shouldn't have it. I mean,
no,
that could have turned into something horrible.
Oh, absolutely.
And that will always stay with me, because I will always think anyone can lose it. Because anyone can. Yeah. We all have breaking points. And people shouldn't be able to reach for a gun. It just shouldn't be.
Just at any moment. And no.
So, sorry. That was my everything judge. And It's really bothered me this week because I have a hard time with the world moving on when something big and tragic happens. It makes me nauseous and sick.
I mean, I think I got emotional over it because those kids are just a little bit older than my nieces and nephew. And that terror. I mean, I'm not lying. I've had nightmares about it.
I've had all sorts of active shooter nightmares.
Yeah, I had nightmares after Columbine, like stuff happening in our school. I had, anytime something like that happens. I mean, my brother had a kid bring a gun just this past school year, that's finishing up, over some kind of boyfriend girlfriend spat. I mean, and thank God that he told a kid and that kid turned it in, you see something, say something kind of thing, because I just can't, I've had dreams, parents, brother, they're all involved in the school system some way. And it just, to be that connected to the school system and then see what's happening, it can be terrifying. And it's just, like, what do you can't do anything, your hands are tied as a teacher. You can only do what your state allows you to do, and that's it, So yeah, that was a good judge because, yeah, they need to be judged. But
so yeah, sorry, that was my.
I feel like this week has been that way, like with news and everything. It's just been like one big heavy sigh.
The world is shitty, guys.
And it's on fire.
But we gotta keep trying. I mean, yeah, I'm feeling sad about it. Like, we gotta keep trying to make it better. But I'm oh man,
just like there's nothing more to say. It's just
oh god, ultimately shitty.
Yes.
On that note,
time for a palate cleanser.
So this week our topic was the magical world of Harry Potter.
It is. And I think it's your turn to go
first. Is it? That's unfortunate, actually. Because for my Harry Potter story, I decided to bring you the true crime of Harry Potter.
What?
I know, it's kind of a sampling of things that touch upon true crime.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
So I read, well, first I got my sources. The Atlantic, Wikipedia, of course.
Always.
Entertainment Weekly, Time Magazine, and the last one you'll enjoy when we get there. It won't make sense now, but it's from iowastatedaily.com.
Okay. All right.
But so for the first one, I read this fascinating article in The Atlantic about how JK Rowling uses Voldemort, or brings Voldemort to life using a lot of the true crime tropes that we're all very familiar with to turn him into an epic villain. And so we're going to talk about Voldy and his serial killer tendencies.
I mean, he's like, what, serial killer? He's leader of a cult.
I mean, he's all of the things. He really
is. He's like
is.
the KKK. I mean, all the bad things.
So, young Tom Riddle, who, as we know, is Voldemort, conforms to many
Riddle
of the classic stereotypes of serial killers. His parents were incredibly unhappy. I love that sometimes my computer autocorrects things that weren't spelled wrong. He was a loner, not a longer, but whatever. He was a loner. Good old Tommy. He bullied other children. He tortured animals. And like any true serial killer would, he collected trophies from his victims. Aww.
Love it.
Now, in real life, as you know, lots of people are fascinated by true crime. But it's not so much that they're fascinated by like the serial killers themselves, like specifically them, as like in their crimes, as much as they're fascinated by why, like trying to understand what got them from
like did
little
you have a
cute
bad childhood
kid to this psychopath serial killer who's murdering people. So JK Rowling gives us some of that love. She gives us a lot of Voldemort's motivations. You actually learn quite a bit about him, especially in book 6, when we're going down the rabbit hole of understanding Voldy and his terrifying childhood.
And the Horcruxes.
So, as we know, Voldemort is motivated by feeling superior to other people, like he wants that feeling. His never-ending desire for immortality, which, okay.
Right.
Some nice racial cleansing. Got to get rid of those mudbloods and those muggles. Psh, they're bad.
Which, he was one.
I know, right?
So,
which brings me to my next point. There's a little bit of self-hatred there.
Right.
So Tom Riddle had a less than, we'll call her, capable mother.
Yeah.
His father was an arrogant and honestly a douchey kind of muggle.
Yes.
And
in my head, I just think that he's like this big giant narcissist.
I always got the like Gaston vibe from.
Yeah, like he's just like
I'm just amazing and hunky.
I mean, even though they don't talk about his dad a whole lot,
but that's what that's the feel that you get, like just the little bits.
Right.
Yeah. But as we know, Tom becomes, even though he himself is half muggle, Tom himself becomes obsessed with the superiority of pure blood and the pure bloodline. Because I guess ultimately everyone else in his family was relatively close because they were so inbreded at that point. Which would help explain his mother's capabilities. I don't know how to describe it. She wasn't super, I don't want to use the word intelligent. That's the one that came up a lot, but that's not quite the word that I'm looking for. She just wasn't capable, I guess. Critical thinking was not her strong point. Let's go with that.
Right, exactly.
But so Tom Riddle, of course, his mom died and he ended up in an orphanage. And in his journeys, once he finally gets to Hogwarts and discovers his bloodline and that he's the quote-unquote heir of Slytherin, yada yada, blah blah blah. He goes back in 1943 and he kills his paternal family because he is so filled with hate over his muggle side that he doesn't want that. Yeah. He's like, no, I am an heir of Slytherin and I'm pure blood and gotta kill these people, blah, 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 blah. But,
blah, blah, blah.
You know, he killed his father and his paternal grandparents, even though they had no idea who the hell he was. Like,
Right.
They didn't know he existed. Like, it was just, whatever.
Right.
The locals, of course, were stunned by the murders in the little tiny town of Little Hangleton. And, of course, assumed that Frank Bryce did it. But thank God the Ministry of Magic stepped in and then hauled off Morphin, who they blamed because he liked to torture muggles. And I was like...
Right.
So Tom Riddle didn't really fall far from the tree. He also tortured and hated muggles. Well, and basically everybody that wasn't him. He was quite a narcissist.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But, you know, kind of back to the classic stereotypes of serial killers. So, most of us are probably familiar with the Mcdonald Triad, which is the 3 things you look for in childhood that could indicate becoming a serial killer, sociopath, yada yada. And they include animal cruelty, setting fires, and bedwetting.
Yeah.
But JK Rowling made sure that she peppered that into Tom's childhood and background.
She sure did.
She sure did. it was an interesting article. You know, just the stuff that we already knew was there. You know, his Hitler-esque attitude, which he is very Hitler-esque in that Hitler too was not. He was not his vision of the superior bloodline, and yet he was all for killing people anyway that looked just like him. Like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. So you're just like,
yeah, whatever. So now we're gonna move on to the true crime portion of our story.
Okay.
So you may be familiar with the Rob Knox story. Rob Knox played Marcus Belby in The Half-Blood Prince. And was actually signed on to be in Deathly Hallows as well. But he died.
Okay.
He was 18 when he died. He died after being stabbed outside of a bar in 2008, trying to intervene in a fight to protect his brother, who was being threatened by some guy armed with 2 kitchen knives.
Okay.
The guy was... surely I typed that wrong. I have Kark, but that's not a name. Maybe it's Carl. I think it's Carl.
What if it's Clark?
It's K-A-R-K. I think it's Carl.
Okay.
Yes, Carl. Guys, it's been a week, okay? I'm desperately trying to get everything done so I can go to Kentucky. So I've been working obscene hours on work stuff all week.
We're going to say Carl.
Carl.
For the sake of time.
Carl Norman Bishop was the assailant, and he was sentenced to life in prison. But he had no remorse for stabbing Rob Knox, claiming that he himself was being attacked because he was black. I was like, okay. So I don't really know what happened, but it's super sad. Like, he's just trying to help save his brother, get him out of the way, and he ends up getting stabbed, and he dies, and that's horrific. So, actually, Half-Blood Prince was released after his death, and so he starred in it posthumously, is how they phrased it.
Okay.
So, it's sad. But that's one true crime story. The other one is a little bit more bananas. This story involves Afshan Azad, who played Padma Patil. So she was the subject of a murder plot that took place in her own home.
Wait, what?
Yes. So her father and her brother, Abdul and Ashram, disapproved of her relationship because she was dating a Hindu man. And so they attacked her in 2010. No. With apparently the determination to kill her, because I assume she was, blackening the family name or whatever.
Right.
Dishonor on your
family, dishonor on your cow. Yeah.
So they were both arrested and charged with assault and yada yada. But she's fine. She was fine. I mean, she's not fine. Her brother and her father tried to kill her, but like physically she's
was
okay.
Fine.
She's okay.
Yes. Okay, good.
Which, oh god, like what shitty things.
Right,
like stop it.
I
no
know.
one cares. There's no magical god out there that cares that much. Stop it.
Right.
But now I'm going to talk to you about another true murderer. JK Rowling herself.
Okay.
Now, this just amused me greatly. I won't lie. So, Claire, how many people...
Is it because she killed off all her characters? Is that what we're calling her?
How many people died in her books? I mean, like, I don't have a number. I think it was like 96 or something obscene.
A lot.
But, like, a lot of people died.
The last book alone.
Yeah, right.
How many people died in the last book? I mean, come on.
And, like, she kills off some pretty important people.
Right.
Literally anyone who ever bothered to care about Harry that was not a Weasley. And even one of the Weasleys. So, like, God damn it. But of all the people that she killed off, she famously only feels bad for killing off one specific character. Can you guess which one?
Is it Cedric?
Nope.
Really?
It is not Cedric.
Dumbledore.
Nope.
Colin Creevey.
Nope.
Damn it.
You get one more guess.
Is it a bigger character or like more minor? More minor? Lavender Brown.
Oh, I forgot she died. No.
Ah, damn it.
The correct answer to literally everyone out there who had no fucking clue was Florian Fortescue.
What?
Yes.
The ice cream guy?
The ice cream guy.
Oh my gosh.
She says, this is my favorite. So, and it's just like a random sentence, like in book 6 about how he was dragged off by Death Eaters and no one had seen him since, so you know he's dead. Like, it's sad, and you're like, oh, no, he was so nice, but that's like it, and you move on.
Right? Yeah, like they're...
But she says...
That aggravates me because it's like, honestly, I forgot about that. Right. So, like, who...
I knew you would never guess it, because unless you specifically knew the answer.
Oh, I never.
No one would ever guess that, because you're like...
Oh, don't you know? That was the next name I was going to pull out of my ass after Lavender Brown. No, absolutely not. No, it was... No. I could have gone through all the minor characters
and never gotten there. Yeah.
That name.
But what I love is that she says that she feels like she is to blame because she caused it. And I was like, I'm sorry, what the fuck does that mean? You caused all of their deaths. You wrote them.
I know.
Or, like, I mean, fine, if you want to go with, well, you know, Voldemort is the evil and he killed, fine. But then you're not responsible for any of their deaths. You can't really have it both ways. What in the actual fuck? I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked Florian. He was a nice guy who helped Harry Potter with his summer homework, and it was nice, and gave him Sundays.
Right.
And I'm like, here for this. Support. Totally here for this.
Right.
But I'm like, God damn it, you killed Hedwig. What in the actual fuck?
Right.
I mean, like, literally the only living creature that was his and his alone, he didn't have to share with anybody, and you fucking killed off the owl. Like, God damn you.
Right.
In fact, when I read book 7, I don't read that part, and in my head, Hedwig lives at the burrow until they finish killing off all the Horcruxes and killing Uvalde, and then at the very end, she comes flying in, and everybody's fucking happy, because that's the correct ending. Thank you.
The one that gets me is Dobby.
Oh, yes.
And I'm just like,
right.
No, not
but,
Dobby.
And that one feels so heartbreaking, which to me means that she wrote it so well that you feel it, and I'm okay with it.
Right. Definitely.
But, like, what the hell?
Right.
What the hell?
Florian Fortescue, what kind... it's
she,
Bush.
quote-unquote,
I call Bush.
Caused it. What the fuck does that mean? What does that even mean?
She caused all of them, okay?
Right? It's either you did or... No. You wrote them all. You didn't have to kill off anybody.
That's such a weird thing to say when you're an author.
Right.
You're like, what? No.
I wish I could have been the person that asked that question the first time.
Right.
So that when she said that, I'd be like, who the fuck now? Who's that?
Right.
What?
Excuse me? What? Yeah.
Or, be like, oh, yeah. And then when she's like, oh, I feel like I'm really to blame for that one because I caused it. Just kind of sit there and be like, I'm sorry, what the fuck does that mean?
Actually,
my next question would have been, what the fuck does that mean? How?
It's like she's actually participating as a Death Eater? Is that what she's saying? Is it she herself is a Death Eater? Is that what she's claiming?
Yes,
that's what I want to know.
That is correct.
Because I feel like with some of her comments as of late, I'm pretty sure she's a Death Eater. So
I mean,
just
I'm going ahead and letting you guys know we do not support JK Rowling.
No.
We think she's wrong. Wrong. However, I still enjoy Harry Potter, so I'm choosing to enjoy it without her. Thanks, guys. All right, my final one. Are you ready?
Yes.
For what I believe is the truest crime of them all.
Okay.
It was not Voldemort being a serial killer. It was not Rob Knox being tragically murdered trying to save his brother. It was not Afshan Azad, who has ridiculous men in her family that are stupid. And it is not the fact that JK Rowling is an idiot. It is, in fact, that I read an article from iowastatedaily.com that explained to me that Harry Potter is, in fact, Jesus.
Stop it. No. Why?
Well,
why?
Just like Jesus, Claire, Harry is the chosen one. And he saves all of mankind by sacrificing himself and rising from the dead, just like Jesus. I mean, minor detail that he didn't really die because of the whole elder
That's what I was
going to
say, but he didn't.
He didn't really actually understand this at all. It's like, did you read all the books?
Right.
Do you understand what you're talking about?
No.
But also, not only, Claire, is Harry Potter Jesus, but Dumbledore is God.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, because
Dumbledore is so flawed.
No, Claire.
For somebody.
No, you're wrong, because Dumbledore is an all good force. Holy even.
Did this person not read?
No, he didn't.
The last book.
He watched movies and he was like, "It's the Jesus story, and our kids can relate it to Jesus." I'm like, "No, they can't." But Claire, good wizards have faith in Dumbledore, just like good Christians have faith in God.
Okay. That's a tragedy. Who wrote that?
I didn't want to glorify his name. I didn't write it down. But I will tell you that Spencer made me watch. So there is a YouTube channel called, I think it's called Prophet of Zod, Z-O-D? Something of Zod. I know it's Z-O-D. I think it's Prophet of Zod. But he is someone who, I call him Static Face. I think it's Static Face. It's either Static Face or Black Guy. And by black guy, I don't mean like the color of his skin, but he's always like wearing black cloth all over his, but you can't see his face. So like it's weird. They're weird. He wears like a black hat. Shadow Man, that's what I call him. Shadow Man.
There you
go. Shadow Man and Static Face or whatever. But they both of them are the same, really. They are either atheists or agnostic. I think they're actually both atheists, but they're on the. One of them at least grew up evangelically.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know about the other one, but so it's them just kind of not arguing, but like showing clips from like Focus on the Family and like weird little interviews, and then being like, this is why this is not okay, and this is why this is not good logic, and you know, this is not what you should be telling your kids. You should be preparing them to have these conversations, because a lot of them are like, I don't care that you believe this, but like, don't tell what you're doing to your kids is awful, so stop. But so one of them was him talking about some interview show that I would never watch because it's on some Jesus-y something or another. But the guy was basically arguing how so many pop culture movies and things are really just the Jesus story. To which I'm like, doesn't he mean the hero narrative that actually because like, well, they took it from the Jesus story. I'm like, no, Jesus story took it from the Egyptian story that is almost the same thing that happened thousands of years before there was Jesus. So back off. But whatever. It's a common stories and everything. But so he too is talking about Harry Potter, and he was just like, it's just a great way to have a conversation with your kid. I'm like, no. But none of them have ever actually read the books and don't understand it at all. Because they both were like, well, he comes back from the dead. I'm like, not really.
No.
Did you read that? Do you understand? Yeah. So annoying.
When Voldemort killed him, this is for all you people out there who don't know, when we're saying he didn't actually die. When Voldemort hit him with the killing curse killed the Horcrux that was inside him, which was part of Voldemort's own soul. And if that's too much for you, go read the books, because I'm not explaining the rest of that. It's ridiculous.
Well, or just like fucking Google it, because this guy obviously did not.
Right.
He watched the movies and he refers to the movies, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you're
read the
you're
books.
going with some incorrect information here.
Right.
Anyway. Oh, going back to Dumbledore being God, because,
Oh, no.
Dumbledore directs Harry on how to overcome Voldemort in the same way that God directs Jesus to liberate all of mankind.
Mm-hmm.
And when Harry dies, because this guy doesn't know anything, when Harry dies, he meets Dumbledore in the quote-unquote train station that is full of light and white and is obviously heaven.
No. Wrong.
And also, this is my favorite point, Dumbledore is God because Dumbledore has a beard and hair just like the way God is often portrayed.
Stop it.
Like what?
Oh, stop.
The actual... Okay.
No. Who is this person?
Well, and then so, if Harry is Jesus and Dumbledore is God, obviously Voldemort is the devil. I mean, obviously. Because, since we got to remember God and the devil were friends at first, and that means Tom and Dumbledore were sort of friends at first, or at least got along, and I'm like, that's not at all what I remember from the books. They didn't get along. Dumbledore was always like, I'm worried about this kid. This kid seems like
he's always like,
evil.
This kid is suspicious. Got to keep my eye on him. Even when he went and visited him in the orphanage, he was like, He knew. He knew he was evil. They were never like friends.
No, I was like, he knew then that the kid, he was willing to give the kid a chance.
Right.
With a watchful eye, but he never, trusted the kid. I'm like,
oh, no.
Did you read any of the books?
No, obviously not.
But as you know, the devil is a snake in the Bible, and Voldemort not only has the basilisk, but also has Nagini, which is basically like Super Snake with his little piece of soul in it. Plus, he's a Slytherin, and snakes are the sign of Slytherins. And then, obviously, since Slytherins are the devil and snakes, Gryffindor, which is the house of God and Jesus, is represented by a lion.
Sorry. The house of God.
It's the house of God and Jesus, okay? Obviously.
Okay.
And it's represented by the lion, which I'm sure you remember, because I surely did not, that Jesus is at some point in the Bible referred to as the Lion of Judah. I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong, because I don't know. But I don't specifically remember that in any of my Bible years, so cool.
I've heard that term, but I don't...
Not, frequently known as the Lion of Judah, but maybe, a couple of times.
I've heard that term, but I don't know that is biblical. I'm not going to say that with 100% specificity. I've heard it, but I don't know that it's actually biblical.
I was like, okay, sure. But also, no.
Right.
That is real. What the hell?
Right.
This is not the Chronicles of Narnia. Stop it.
Right.
Boy. Ugh. But so, there you have it, Claire. The truest crime of them all. Somehow making Harry Potter, which cracks me up because, as you know, the true evangelical right is all about burning that book because witchcraft.
Right.
But now I'm like, oh, it turns out you're burning a book about Jesus. I'm going to start using that if I hear that. I'm like, it's actually about Jesus and God and the devil.
You should. Yes.
Well, Claire, there you have it. There's my random selection of true sort of crime-ish type thing stories of Harry Potter.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Some of those were absolutely ridiculous.
Yes. Well, I knew I had to end on Harry Potter's Jesus because...
On the most ridiculous of them all.
Fucking ridiculous. And, next in line, of course, is JK Rowling, feeling like she is to blame for the death of Florian Fortescue, but literally no one else. Not one other person. Not one. Just Florian. I was like, what the hell's wrong with you?
You're like, what?
So what did you bring us, Claire?
I did a deep dive into the life of the boss ass bitch known as Minerva Mcgonagall.
She is a boss ass bitch. She is who I want to be when I get more gray hair than I have now.
Right. Like she's like, you talk about like I mean, I'm sure she's got her own flaws, but I feel like she is even more superior than Dumbledore when it comes to
yes, because
character
Dumbledore,
development.
Who I love. Dumbledore is one of my favorite characters of all time, even if he is controversial and you're not really sure how good he is. He has an ulterior motive, and
definitely
disturbing, but still.
Absolutely,
But she's nothing but goodness and snark. She is the queen of the snark, and I love her.
Yeah. And I'm also going to tell you a little bit about the actress who plays her, Maggie Smith, because she's a great actress, and she is also a boss ass bitch. So that's what I'm bringing you today. So, gonna start out with some Maggie Smith knowledge. She was born Margaret Natalie Smith on December 28th, 1934.
My hero.
In Ilford, Essex, England.
Wait, did you say December 28th?
Yes.
That's when Maggie was born.
Ah, Maggie!
Maggie and Maggie, it was meant to be. Now I have to go be like, you need to be Maggie Smith, and that is your life goal. Stop this whole lacrosse thing. We're done with that now. You're going to be Maggie Smith.
Thing.
It's meant to be. It is meant to be.
It is. And she has been on both stage and on screen, obviously, multiple times. And some of the things that I grew up knowing her in, when Hook was like one of the first ones. Loved her in Hook because she played Wendy, the old Wendy.
That's right.
Yes.
I don't know that I really knew that until you said it. And I'm like, oh god, that is her.
Sister Act 1 and 2, which are some personal faves.
I don't know how you can not like those movies. They're just
right.
I mean, I haven't watched them in a while. Maybe they don't hold up. I don't know. Don't at me. But like, I remember loving them.
Yes, and again, the queen, and she is also the queen of snark in a lot of the roles that she does. So it's not just McGonagall; like she does snark.
It's true.
So well.
I think she herself is snark.
I do.
Snark
I really
incarnate.
do.
And
yes,
I'm here for it.
She was also in Gosford Park,
which I love.
Yes, that's a great movie. Tea with Mussolini. The OG Clash of the Titans.
Oh.
Like back in the day. She played one of the Olympians who's like messing with what's his face? Perseus. That's the name. What's that dude's name? Perseus.
I don't know. I've not seen it in like 15, 20 years.
She also did a voice in Romeo and Juliet and Sherlock Gnomes.
Oh my god, I didn't know that at all. I've not seen those, but I might now. Man.
Lady Blueberry.
Oh.
Is who she did. So she's done some voice work for some cartoons. Yeah. She has won 2 Oscars. One for The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie and one for California Suite. And she's had 6 Oscar nominations. She's won a Tony and 2 Emmys. Emmys were for House in Umbria and her role in Downton Abbey.
I love her in Downton Abbey.
Also, snark.
Oh, God. She has the best snark.
She does.
I mean, I think she's one of the prime reasons why I love Downton Abbey so much. She's so cool.
Oh, definitely. Like, she brings that level of, like, ridiculous.
Well, and she just says like, things like, no.
Yeah, I know. It's so great. Especially when she and the guy who married Mary?
Yeah.
His mom.
Matthew.
Like, because it was
Matthew's
like,
mom.
Yes, they would, when they would, like, kind of go at it. Those were, like, my favorite little scenes. And, okay, so she portrayed Professor Minerva Mcgonagall in all the Harry Potter movies. In 2007, while she was filming Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. and started undergoing chemo treatments while she was filming.
She's a badass bitch, man. Because I'd have been like, no, I'm sick. Leave me alone.
And then in 2009, while filming, I wrote DHPT Deathly Hallows Part 2. While she was filming Deathly Hallows Part 2, she developed shingles and still continued to film.
Damn,
despite being in like a lot of pain.
Yeah, that hurt.
So it's like, I mean, she's amazing in her own right. But this is the character that she brought to life, Minerva Mcgonagall, whose birthday is October 4th. Didn't find a year, so I don't know what year.
Well, that's because Minerva Mcgonagall would never let you know.
That's true.
You don't get to know what year I was born.
That's right. Her animagus, she can turn into an animal, is a tabby cat.
I love it.
Her Patronus is also a cat, which is, I feel like the catty and the snark, like it all just goes together. Her wand was 9.5 inches. The wood was fir, and the core was dragon heartstring. So yeah. Let's see. Her father was a Muggle, and her mother was a witch. Robert McGonagall was her dad, and Isabel Ross was her mom. And her mom did not tell her dad about being a witch until after Minerva was born. She's the oldest of 3. But she started at a very early age, like before a lot of them started exhibiting, her magical powers, as kids do in the wizarding world of Harry Potter. They can do things and they don't realize that it's weird. That for Muggles, you non-magic people. And so when this happened, then the mom had to be like, oh, BTW, I'm a witch. And our daughter apparently is a witch as well.
I'm a witch, and she's a witch, and all of our kids are going to be witches probably, but that's okay.
Oh, and fun fact, her dad was a Presbyterian minister.
That's right. I was going to say, I remember that.
Yes. So, finally told her dad, like, oh, by the way, I'm a witch. And your kids are probably going to be... I know, your kids are probably going to be witches and wizards too. So, she had 2 younger brothers, Malcolm and Robert Jr. When she attended Hogwarts, she was sorted into Gryffindor, and this is something I didn't know was a thing. But she was considered a hat stall, which it means it took the sorting hat over 5 minutes to decide whether, if it was stuck between 2 houses. It took the sorting hat over 5 minutes to figure out what house to put her in.
Well, I mean, she's very smart, so Ravenclaw, I'm sure, was absolutely an option for her.
Yes, it was. I mean, those were the 2.
She's not a Hufflepuff. That's just not who she is, but by golly.
Yeah. So she was it took the sorting hat 5.5 minutes to decide to put her in Gryffindor. Because Ravenclaw was absolutely, up there on the list.
Of course.
So, side note, other hat stalls. Peter Pettigrew.
He should have been in Slytherin.
Yeah, it was between Gryffindor and Slytherin.
As we know.
They said this one was not a true hat stall, which there's a couple of those, but it still took him. It wasn't like Draco, where they didn't even sit it on his head and they called out Slytherin. Yeah. So, a couple of almost hat stalls, which took not quite 5, but almost. Phileas Flitwick, which is the charms teacher. Right. It was between Gryffindor and Ravenclaw, and he was in Ravenclaw. The other almost took over 4 minutes was Hermione Granger. Again,
they
Gryffindor and
really
Ravenclaw.
Allude to that at all in the story.
No. Gilderoy Lockhart.
Which is unfortunate because that would have explained so much about her anxiety about failing out, because she would have gotten stuck in the mind loop of maybe I wasn't good enough, and that's why the hat was stalling.
Why did they put me in Gryffindor and not Ravenclaw? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, bless her.
But anyway, Gilderoy Lockhart. He was put into Ravenclaw, but thought he might belong in Slytherin.
Well, we all know he does, so.
Right.
Oh, it's fine.
Neville Longbottom. He wanted so bad to be in Hufflepuff.
Aww.
He wanted to be in Hufflepuff, but the sorting hat talked him into Gryffindor. So,
which, It's true. He ended up being the bravest of them all, quite honestly.
Right. And then Harry Potter himself. Between Gryffindor and Slytherin. Yep. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do if you have a piece of Voldemort's soul in you? Of course it's going to be
right.
like, Slytherin over here. Hey, what you doing? You want to come to bed? Just Slytherin.
She was on the Gryffindor Quidditch team as the Seeker and suffered a fall in her final year, and it was a foul during a match against Slytherin. Of course. Are we surprised about that? No.
No.
She suffered a concussion, several broken ribs, and a desire to see Slytherin crushed on the Quidditch pitch from here on out.
As I say, she was really determined to pummel Slytherin in Quidditch the entire time of the Harry Potter story sagas.
Oh, 100%. After graduation, she was hired at the Ministry of Magic for, what was it? The Department of Magical Law Enforcement is where she worked.
I can see that. I can imagine her just like going in and being like, "Stop it!" and then being like, "What?"
Right. So, but before she actually like reported for her job, she had the summer off. She just graduated. She's 18. She goes back home and she meets a muggle named Dougal McGregor. And he's the son of a local farmer, and they spend like all summer together. Aww. It's like stinking strawberry wine, like all over the place. Anyway, so he winds up, they fall in love. He proposes, she says yes. But then that night she goes home and she thinks about it and she changes her mind because she doesn't want to repeat what her mom did and not tell him. But if she does tell him, she's going to lose her job at the ministry because she broke the statute of secrecy.
Right.
Because witches are not allowed to tell muggles that they exist. So she decides to go back the next day and she tells him that she's changed her mind. He's devastated. She's heartbroken. And then she just kind of like leaves 3 days later to go to her job to get out of there. Which was just like, that's really sad that, and then Dougal winds up eventually marrying somebody else because she just leaves. And you're just like, that's sad. But she worked at the ministry for 2 years and they offered her promotion. And she decided that she didn't want to do that anymore. So she turned it down and then she asked to work at Hogwarts and they offered her a transfiguration teaching position under the head of the transfiguration department, Albus Dumbledore, at the time. And
the head of the department. How big was the school?
I don't know.
How many transfiguration teachers did they need?
I don't know.
Interesting. Okay,
but yeah. So, Dumbledore, because it was Armando Dippet, was the headmaster before Dumbledore. And then Dumbledore moves to the position, she gets the head transfiguration position, and she's also deputy headmistress.
Deputy headmistress.
So she's the assistant principal at the at the Hogwarts. And let's see. After that, she kept in touch with her ministry boss, Elphinstone Urquhart.
Sure.
Urquart. Urquhart. Like, what is this name?
One that JK Rowling probably found on a tombstone.
Probably.
That's mostly what she did.
And so they kept in touch. They were friendly. Talked about how she had like a good rapport with him when she was at the ministry, even though he's much older than she is. So he comes to see her at Hogwarts over a holiday because she's living in the castle. And he proposed to her in Madame Puttyfoot's tea shop. And she says no because she's still in love with Dougal.
Aww, after all that time, and he'd moved on. Aww.
Obviously, yeah, like she still was just like, And so over the years, I guess they're kind of seeing each other, and he would occasionally propose, and she would continue to turn him down.
Okay, and then now it's just gross. You do it once, and then you're done. Stop.
Right. I mean, it wasn't like a weekly occurrence, And then finally Dougal passes. And then it's like once Dougal has passed away, then she feels like it didn't say how he died. So I don't know if it was tragic or he got sick or what. I have no idea what happened to Dougal, but he died. Once he passed, she felt, I guess, like that possibility was over. Mm-hmm. And so she finally says yes to Elphinstone, your court. But she keeps her last name.
Good.
She's a feminist, and she's like, no, screw you people, I'm not taking, because this guy was a pureblood and she's a mudblood. Mm-hmm. And they were like, why are you not going to take his last name? Because that's a pureblood last name. And she's just like, no, screw you guys, I love my dad. No.
She's like, I've made my own name. Are you kidding? I've been kicking ass for years. Right. You're fucking welcome.
Right. So they get married. They have a little cottage in Hogsmeade. Her nieces and nephews, they never have any kids. Her nieces and nephews come visit from her, kids from her two brothers. Aww. Life is good. And then 3 years in, Elphinstone dies from a venomous tentacula bite, which is a plant that can bite you.
Why? Okay. I'm not asking. It's fine. Continue.
That's all I know. It's a plant with some vines.
I guess I'm going with, why was he hanging out with that plant? Like, what you doing in your Hogsmeade cabin? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Stop it.
I don't know if he grew them like as a hobby, like, ooh, let's grow some dangerous plants. It really didn't say. It just said he died from a venomous tentacula bite.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah. So she moves back to Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. Because like, what else is she gonna do? Just live in that little cottage all by herself. So she lives in Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. She doesn't, that's her home. Hogwarts is my home. Anyway, while she's there, all the stuff with Voldemort happens the first time around.
Gross.
And so she wasn't technically a member of the Order of the Phoenix that helped fight Voldemort, but she did help the Ministry by spying on Death Eaters and bringing Aurors intel to their activities. So she was integral to, them being able to fight against the Death Eaters and Voldy. And then after Dumbledore passes, she eventually becomes headmistress.
Mm-hmm. As she should.
Oh, yeah. And while she's at Hogwarts, she fought in the Battle of the Astronomy Tower, mm-hmm. where Dumbledore dies, and the Battle of Hogwarts, mm-hmm. where everybody else dies.
Yes, right.
She survived the Second Wizarding War and remained headmistress until the early 2020s, which is right now.
Aw. Look at her go.
So,
she's my star.
I know. She is. Like, like I said, she is a boss ass bitch.
That's right.
And so, that is my little deep dive into Minerva and Maggie Smith, who both equally need to be celebrated.
Yes, they are amazing, and I love them, and they are who I want to be.
Right. And so I guess that, like, the fact that she doesn't have kids makes the relationship that's portrayed of her with the three of them in the books, I think even more special to me, because it's almost like they're her kids too, because she does not have her own. And she never married anybody after Elphinstone died. Mm-hmm. She just was just like, okay, I tried. This is it. I'm done with it. I'm just gonna, and that's what it said, is like, she poured herself into her work. She and Dumbledore did have a great relationship.
Yeah.
Because they did confide in each other. Mm-hmm. He came in, like it said, he walked in on her while she was crying after the whole Dougal thing, with Dougal, and she had to, and so she confided in him, and then I guess he started telling her about his life and his hardships, and so they had that kind of camaraderie and connection, because they both came from, like, their homes were not, because it said after her mom told her dad that she was a witch, it was like they still loved each other, but it was like the relationship was strained because that trust had been broken. And so she didn't want to repeat that. And it's just, there was a lot that they could commiserate with about their own personal lives. And so I'm sure when Dumbledore died, that like devastated her.
Well, it devastated me, so I'm sure it would have devastated her. And I knew it was coming because I saw the chapter title and I'm like, God damn it!
Right. You're just like, no.
The White Tomb. God damn it. It's like, I know what this is.
Right. You're just like, ugh.
Well, anyway. I will say, one of my favorite moments with McGonagall is it's book 5 with Umbridge, and Harry is in trouble.
Yes. I think I know what you're going to say. And
she's just like, did you really, like call her a liar and tell her that Voldemort is back and blah, blah, blah. And Harry's like, yes. And she's like, have a biscuit.
Yeah, I know, because you think she's going to like rip him for being disrespectful for a teacher. And she's just like, have a cookie.
Yeah.
Have a biscuit, Potter.
I love that. And one of my favorite things, I read a lot of, like not fanfic, but headcanon, like where people are putting in like things that aren't in the stories, but you're like, this is actually in the story. It's got to be. This is
like, this is like what people have filled in their own, read between the lines and filled in the gaps with their own stuff. And I love reading those. Some of them are great. I come
across a lot on my Facebook. It's like headcanon. I'm like, I'm here for headcanon. Let's go for it. But my favorite headcanon is that McGonagall would transfigure into her cat and, like, spy on Umbridge because Umbridge loved cats so much and be like, pretty kitty, I want to sweet kitty, and then, like, bite her or scratch her or something and be like, oh, that's mean. And just,
right.
It just always made me laugh. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yes. I agree with that 100%. So that was my deep dive into the life that is Minerva Mcgonagall. And I was like, I just get pleasantly surprised anytime I look up anything.
Right.
And I'm like, gosh, these people or JK Rowling and whoever else has gone to like great lengths to give backstory.
Yes.
To these people that none of that is in the movie or the books at all.
And, to me, that's where, like, I disagree vehemently with JK Rowling's stance on things. Because she's horrifyingly awful and wrong. But I can still admire and respect the lengths that she went to create the world that she created. Like, I have a couple of ebooks that are like little snippets of specific characters and like who they were. Like, so I'd heard some of that before, but like who they were and how they got there and their stories and things that don't come up in the main books, but are still very integral to who relevant. They are. So
yeah. And you hear some of that and you're like, okay, that explains so much to how and why she does things the way she does,
So, I mean, I wish I could write something like that. That's amazing to me. To be that so deep in that you have all this information of who they are and where they came from and how they got to this place. And you're like, uh-oh.
Right.
It's like, I have a hard enough time picking a name. I don't know. George and Wilson.
Yes. Absolutely. So yeah, that's my deep dive into one of my favorite characters.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, I guess that means it must be time for
Tarot time with April.
A spooky.
Spooky.
All right, Claire.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, now I will say, this time I had Spencer shuffle the cards while I was setting stuff up. So they should be extra shuffled, but I don't know. So if we get the same cards again, it's not me, folks. It's not me. I made Spencer do it.
That's right.
Here we go. You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Shuffling. Dude. Whoop. I flipped it over. Whoop. Doop. Shuffle.
Stop.
I'm sorry, Merlin. You have chosen to be in the podcast room. You must stay until I am finished. All right, Claire. So.
Yes.
Lord help us all.
Yes.
This is going to be our week. Now, this week was not the best. It's been...
No.
I mean, it's had some okay moments. It's just overall been kind of a downer.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, personally, it's not been terrible. But, like, worldly? Yeah.
Alright, ready?
Yes.
We are starting our week with the Queen of Wands, which if that's not Minerva Mcgonagall, I don't know who the fuck is.
Right, and I don't think we've had that one. So, we've had the Queen of Cups, but not the Queen of Wands. Or we have the Queen of Pentacles.
Oh, yes. Okay. Our midweek will be the Ten of Swords reversed.
I'm tired of these sword cards.
They're very sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And we shall end our week with the Page of Pentacles, also reversed.
Oh, was the 10 reversed too?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Page of Pentacles.
The Queen of Wands.
I don't think we've had any of these.
Oh, well then good. Thank you, Spencer. The Queen of Wands is strong, fierce, independent, and confident. I told you it was McGonagall.
Yes, Queen.
She can take care of herself, knows what she wants, and can get a lot done with determination and authenticity. When going forth with your actions, do it boldly and fearlessly.
Yes.
Cool. I feel the representing of McGonagall there.
I do too.
I'm here for it. All right. I'm betting that goes all to hell in the next card, though. So.
Yeah, because usually the swords are like, meh.
Especially when they're inverted.
Inverted. Yeah.
All right, 10 of Swords.
Uh-oh.
You may have recently experienced a crushing failure, betrayal, or disaster that brings you to your knees. However, you should be mindful of not making yourself into a martyr because of it. This card means you've hit rock bottom. From here on out, there's nowhere else to go but up.
Oh,
but it's reversed. Great. So it's change and clarity and recovery and reevaluation. So actually, it's positive.
It's not terrible.
Change and clarity, it's fine. I don't mind that.
I mean, even reevaluation. Yeah, it's fine. It's not. Those are not bad.
Those aren't bad things.
I can dig.
Fine. It's cool. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All right. But then.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Page of Pentacles?
Yes.
Yes.
Page of Pentacles.
The Page of Pentacles also reversed.
Mm-hmm.
Page of Pentacles indicates you have big dreams and a strong, enthusiastic desire to make those come true. Perhaps you're starting a new project or a job. LOL, fun story later.
Right.
To achieve your goals, approach your tasks pragmatically and keep your feet on the ground. But it's inverted. So, lack of commitment, complacency, impatience, and focus on short-term goals. Well, I can only focus on short-term goals. Have you seen my workload? Are you crazy?
Right.
Good God. That's fine. That's not terrible. At least we get to start out. I'm going to just, for now on, this is the McGonagall card.
Yes.
It's just...
Anytime I see the word pentacles written out, I want to say pentacles.
I know.
I'm like, I'm a Page of Pentacles.
It's the Page of Pentacles. Pentacles, Pentacles, Pentacles. Sorry. Going back. Yes. Well, that was funsies. So, yes. I guess now it's time to figure out what is going to be next on our list of things to discuss. Are you ready for it, Claire?
Yes. Let me find it, because where did it go?
Where's the Wheel of Fate, Claire?
I know.
Claire, you're not allowed to lose the Wheel of Fate.
I know.
It's the Wheel of Fate. Wheel of Fate.
There it is.
Oh, found it. Okay, good. All right, ready?
Found it. I was like, where did it go?
For the Wheel
of
Fate. And? It's thinking. It's basically the Sorting Hat. Got it.
It is. It is the Sorting Hat. Chupacabra. Yep. El Chupacabra.
Well, there you go. So next episode, we'll be talking about creatures that suck the blood of goats. You're welcome. It'll be fun.
We'll bring you some Chupacabra stories. I have a friend who lives not that far from me, and anytime she would go outside to let her dog out and she would hear some creepy noise coming from the yard or like behind her house, she would always be like, "It's a Chupacabra."
It's the Chupacabra.
So she'll enjoy that.
Well, good.
She'll enjoy this episode.
I sure hope I can find some good Chupacabra stories.
Right. I'm sure there's some out there.
I'm sure.
Yes.
All right.
It'll be excellent.
Until next time, when we will talk about sucking on the blood of goats. Yum yum. You can you can find us on all the places at all the things at Brunch and Judge, and you can send us an email with your own ideas for the Wheel of Fate, as well as your own personal stories and judges to
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
Excellent. So until next time, keep on brunching
and keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.
Brunch and Judge. Brunch and Judge. We brunch and judge everything and give you opinions that nobody asked for.